All right. Ben, just do me a favor and let me know that you can hear me. There's a small time delay and looks good. Never mind. All right. So, yeah, let's get to work. Let me just a second answer this. Fantastic. So you guys had no problem with the link on the Kickstarter. That's good. Just answering James here. I'm going to start mocking up this thing in just a minute, but I need to answer him real quickly because he was going to moderate and I didn't know where he was. So, all right. Yeah, guys, I don't know if anybody wants to invite anybody else. The more people we have, the better. Not because I'm trying to sell anything, but just because it's more fun that way. And yeah, welcome to the Hangout. So I'm going to sculpt a piece here that I'm going to release to you guys. And I'm just sort of like setting up my project. I did a little bit of setup earlier so that I could have all my parts ready. But yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So real quick, just so you guys have a clue, I know that we're gonna start filling up the room here soon, but this part is actually like reduced in size. So one of the things I have here is I have a measurement bar. That's what this bar is. That's measured up to 150 millimeters, which is the max size that I built for. I would have liked to, just between us guys, I would have liked to have built for larger printer beds. But the truth is that when Greg and I started working together, he was kind of adamant that not everybody had 8-inch and larger beds, and I didn't want to cut out anybody from the market. I know that there are some people that have really early 3D printers where they're only 4-inch beds, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to build for that, so it's just doesn't leave me a lot of options. So this is what I'm going to be working on today. I'm going to be working on this little guy here. So I put down a little floor plane, and I'm going to work on this for about an hour. It's going to be one of those things. Feel free to ask questions. It's going to take me a few minutes. I don't have a moderator. James is going to join me, but he wasn't necessarily available. So if you have a question about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, just post it in there. And again, please, if you think that you have any friends, or if you're part of a community of people that you think should see, what creating assets should look like for 3D printing, go for it. Now, this is just so you guys know, like I have plans for Worlds Overrun. I want to do a lot of stuff with it. The organic stuff is what I'm known for because I'm a sculptor by trade. But there's other assets that I'm going to be making, and I'm just sort of I'm just getting started with Worlds Overrun. I mean, we've done 2 Kickstarters now, and it isn't my only thing doing modeling and sculpting. For Worlds Overrun, I actually work for Collapse Industries, where I make statues, like resin. We make 3D prints, and then we make resin copies of the kits that I'm making. So what I'm doing right now, with Worlds Overrun is that this is my own brand, and I wanted to get into the gaming stuff because I've always loved games. So yeah, I don't know what you guys want to know about from me. I don't know what you guys want to talk about. I was just gonna model this piece here and kind of create something cool that can add to the catalog. I'm using the word catalog for the Worlds of Our Own content because I think it's a nice way of saying that there's a body of work. And I don't really have a just so you guys know, I don't really have anything scheduled. I designed this piece. I scribbled it out on a piece of paper earlier. I got some ideas. I'm going to play with some stuff. I'm going to just sort of freeform here. So, like I said before, if you have friends or peers or people that you think should be seeing this, or you think would like to join in, again, please feel free to invite people. Because it's just me, mocking up this piece here. I'm going to use some of the same techniques I used for the Thorn Prime. I'm actually calling this thing the mini Prime, the Thorn Mini Prime. If you didn't already know that each world I develop, whether it's Strata or Thorn or Scorch or whatever, they're all based on a singular name that defines the persona of that world. So Thorn is kind of it was loosely inspired by Tyranids, even though most of the people I designed for actually played Dungeons and Dragons or Rift. I do have a few friends that play 40k. It's really not about locking down any one type of game. I really just want to make good stuff that people enjoy working with and playing with, and then tell me the story that they want to convey. Whenever I go to my local game shop, the guys look at things like the Thorn Hive Megamaw, and they're like, it's an arena. We're gonna put orcs in there. So yeah, there you go. So where do I get my inspiration? I've been an artist since I was like a little guy, and I sit down with pad and paper and I draw. I literally just sit down with pen and paper and I draw up my designs, and I just that's what I do. It's If you talk to any serious designer like myself, they'll tell you that inspiration is a whole lot of bullshit. There's motivation. Motivation is different. I'm motivated because I like this stuff. I'm motivated because I enjoy I enjoy making things. But I wouldn't say that I've ever. I don't really do inspiration. I do more motivation. Go in there, make an asset. Get people excited. I love it when people like my work. There's times where I come up short, or where somebody doesn't like my design, and um, I have to change tack or change gears. But for the most part, um, I just sit down with pen and paper and design stuff. Like if you saw the designs for this, you'd probably be like, I don't know if you'd be overwhelmed or underwhelmed, honestly. Maybe you'd just be whelmed. But the idea is that I want to make a miniature Thorn Prime, or Thorn Prime Mini. Is it or Mini? No, Mini Prime. It's Mini Prime. I think I labeled it Mini Prime. That is going to fit roughly on a 150 millimeter space, so that I've got this little tiny bunker wall essentially. But I'm gonna do some cool stuff here. So like my first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out a section here, because I want to do one of the things I liked about the Prime is that it was growing. It was a living structure, and it had these sort of viney tendrils growing out of it. So I'm gonna actually just sort of build that right now, because I like the idea that since we can do so much with the 3D printers, I really like the idea that like in Thorn, everything is it's loosely based on coral and bones. That's where I get my shape language from, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the Tyranids were an inspiration, but they weren't the only inspiration, and they weren't the primary inspiration. Like I said before, most of the players, most of the people I'm familiar with play Rift and Dungeons and Dragons. I do have some friends that play 40K, but they're not the primary players. You know what I'm saying? So really, what I'm doing here is I'm going to look at the silhouette. I'm going to build all these roots or tendrils that are pulling nutrients out of the ground. And if I do this right, this plate here will disappear. I'll get rid of this plate, and you'll just have the part. And then you can, hopefully you can put guys behind it, kind of like a bunker wall or a barrier. And yeah. So since I don't have James here to moderate or talk to me, guys, start posting some questions. You can ask me pretty much anything you want for the most part. I'm just gonna work on this, and I'm gonna glance over and see what you guys are saying and talking about. I hope that you liked. I hope that like most of you guys got to get in on the first Kickstarter. I hope you liked that content. I just sent an update out for the bridge today. I sent out a yoke update for the bridge so that the tiles, the open lock tiles, fit a little tighter. It was designed to have a loose fit originally. Greg and I wanted it to have a loose fit so we could hop swap tiles. But I sent out an update for that today. So that's just a quick fix. I'm really happy that I haven't had to do a lot of that. I'm happy that all the test printing that Greg and I did really paid off. We're not test printing everything now because part of what I'm doing, some of the stuff is big, and most individuals are only going to print out 1 or 2 of them. But most of the time we just have to eyeball it. And Greg's like, hey, you need to make an edit here, you need to make an edit there. Like I did earlier today, do I have it open? Yeah. Earlier today I did a fix on this part. You guys should recognize this part. This is from the portal. I had accidentally forgotten that I cut the seam at a really bizarre angle. And that angle was very hard to level. And a couple of people that are helping promote my work had trouble with it because they couldn't level it. They didn't have the software to level it. So I went in and leveled it and sent out a new update that should make, like, this is going to come. You guys are going to get the leveled version, of course, but they're going to get that, and that's going to make life easier. Because when I cut stuff up, I want to be able to free form my cuts, meaning I can put my cuts wherever I want. And as long as it's flat, we just, level it to the bed. And with those spines, right? I don't know if you guys are talking to me or not, but with these spines, I spent a lot of time looking at the direction of the spines to make sure I knew where the best cut was. And this cut, if you look at, let's see here, if you look at not this side, not that side, where is it? There we go. So you can see that the foot, the part that's going to be on the table, this is flat to the table, but the way that this cut is makes this offset here, which isn't going to affect the print. That's how, when you make the part, you're going to be fine. But I wanted this cut to be done in such a way that you didn't really need supports on here. And Greg has printed. Greg has an auto level system as well. But basically, what ends up happening is that I want to make it so that you can run it with a small amount of support. Or you can, run it with no support. And the idea is that the more parts that I make, as I make parts, I want to try and make parts as often as possible where you don't need any support, and you can just drop the assets in, orient them to the angle that works for you, and print out as many as you like. So there you go. So yeah. So let me get back to this. Most of what I'm doing right this second is blocking out. So I'm looking at the shape. I'm going to check the silhouette here in a second. Which doesn't want to change. That's weird. Oh, wait a minute. I know what happened. I used to teach ZBrush. I taught ZBrush at school or at a university. I taught it at Full Sail. And I was good at it. I was really good. Let's make that a little lighter. So right now I'm just going to take a look at the silhouette and see that getting the shape that I want for the silhouette. I think I'm gonna do some sculpting here in a minute, but I want to get these tendrils down. I want to have some nice little negative space in there. Clear that. I want these guys to be separate too, so I'm gonna separate them. Hidden. All right, so now those guys are separate. I got a bit of schmutz down here that I'm gonna have to deal with. All right, give me a second. Let me read what N stuff said. I wasn't a participant of the first, but I did add in the original Kickstarter. I plan on having an extra dimensional beings take over the Fey plane for my players to counterattack. That sounds really cool. That sounds wicked cool, and that reminds me of what happened in the Dresden Files. So that could be really, really neat. I hope you. I can't wait to. I hope you get to take photographs of your table when you play, because I would. I haven't seen any of my previous backers. I think I've seen like one person paint and assemble the pieces, and I was like hoping that I would get like not bombarded, but just like a lot of people just being like, we made all this stuff, and not talking like that because that would be really weird. But just I was kind of like, I put out the first Kickstarter, I think back in, was it October? It might have been October, and then I had I had some family stuff going on, and then I finished it up and got the rest of the content out. And I think during that entire period of time, I didn't hear from anybody. In fact, I just found out on Daka Daka that some of the guys were like, "Yeah, he got his Kickstarter done and he stopped talking to us." And I'm like, "I didn't stop talking to you guys. You guys stopped talking to me," which I found a little weird. Because I'm not a member of Daka Daka. I mean, well, I am now. I'm a member of Daka Daka now. But I found it a little unusual because I figured that just like me wanting to share my stuff, I figured that people would want to share their stuff and their games and things with me, and I was a little surprised, a little taken back that nobody painted it, nobody shared it with me. I was like, wow, because I would have been like, yeah, I would have I would have been talking about that stuff for days. Hey, Tommy built a mega ball and put it together and uh, painted it in these colors. I would have been so like ecstatic. But I guess people got lives, so that they were just doing their things, and yeah. But I'm really hoping that I'm really hoping that this second expansion, and then even the third Kickstarter that I'm going to do, that I'm already planning. We actually started it. We started the content for it. We were hoping to get it in on this Kickstarter, but it just wasn't going to happen. There's just too much work. It's better to split it up. I don't know. Where's my tea? Okay, there we go. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing stuff. A couple of people asked me. I was hoping to go to a convention called Monsterpalooza because we're releasing a couple statues for Monsterpalooza. Kirk's going to go. I don't think I'm going to be able to go. I don't think I can afford it. But a couple of people asked me, if I was going to go to Adepticon, and I was like, I would love to have a table at Adepticon and have, all of my backers and my fans and my friends, coming up to me and showing me all the cool things that they're doing with the pieces, and showing me cool mods with, if they're using like, if they're flocking things with sand or with grass, or if they're using epoxy sculpt. I love epoxy sculpt to edit pieces, or if they've turning, instead of using them as tabletop pieces, they're turning them into dioramas. Like I had a whole conversation with some guys over at the Styrene Syndicate They're actually interested in the pieces not for tabletop play, but actually to take and use them for dioramas. I was like, kind of like, wow, I never even thought of that, you know. Um, so yeah, I've got music playing. I don't know if I don't think you guys can hear it because I don't think I set it up properly. I usually run Molds and Monsters podcast, but we don't do music in Molds and Monsters because it's just it's usually interviewing people. So I hope this isn't I hope this isn't too boring, guys. So what I'm doing here is I'm just like I'm just trimming this part. I'm trimming the edge because I want to put some meat. I want to put some meat in here because it's supposed to be a living kind of thing. You guys can still hear me, right? Uh, I mean, guys, anybody? Hold on a second. I mean, I'm just checking because yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this thing, and yeah. All right, cool. All right. So yeah. So Greg really likes the stuff I do. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna trim this. I want to trim. I want to get rid of this schmutz down here. I hate it when this thing does this, but it happens. And then we're gonna save this guy after I clean this garbage out. Yeah, for me the terrain stuff is pretty wild. Because I didn't intend to get into this. Somebody asked me for some stuff, and next thing I know, I'm designing like whole worlds, and hopefully my software didn't crash because it's decided that it wants to think. Ah, there we go. And we're gonna get rid of all this junk here. Delete that stuff. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so let's get some more parts in here. I'm gonna go ahead. I got a copy of the first pass. That was weird. All right, so I want to turn this into meat. Meat. And I'm going to save this file because it's acting funky. I don't know why it's acting funky because I haven't done anything special. ZBrush is pretty stable most of the time, but every once in a while it will crash on you. I don't know why it's decided that it's going to act up all of a sudden. Might be the part. Might be the part. Hopefully the part's okay. We're going to take this guy. This was a copy. Take this guy and turn this guy into like a tissue, like a meat. I say meat, but I'm thinking like organic tissue. Whereas the outside is going to be like an armored carapace. The inside is going to be more soft, muscly kind of structure. In fact, I should have thought about this. Now I'm thinking about it. I really wish I had a like a picture of a muscle, like a scallop or something. That would really help me with where my head is at with this part. So I'm just going to smooth this out here real quick. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clip this part off here because I really do want to see. I want the player to be able to see through this here. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim this section, and we're just gonna throw that chunk away, and then smooth off the edge, Dynamesh it again. All right, so I want this to reach up really high, like it's. I'm actually talking to you guys a lot like how I would talk when I was teaching. When I was teaching, I'd like walk through every move that I made with my students because they were complete novices, so they'd be like, I don't know what you're doing. So let me try. No, I don't want that one. I want this one. So I'm going to turn on my different brushes here, and I'm going to create this. So what I want to do is I want to create like I'm going to pull out some material here, and I'm going to create like a I want to create like a tendony mass, and because the whole point of this is that like this is an object. You know, I want this to be a thing. You know, I want you guys to look at this and be like, that looks like this to me. And you know, I'm thinking about how tendons attach to muscles. So I'm going to pull this out, and I'm just going to move this into position. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And do like that. And we'll create sort of a muscle in here. No, and ZBrush decided to shit the bed. All right, better now than later. I'm gonna turn that off. I don't need that anymore. Open up ZBrush. Oh, let's see here. Let me check it and see what your comments say. While we're waiting for ZBrush to reload. Thanks for okay, dude. Yeah, it can be fascinating to watch. Thank you. Very cool to watch someone who knows how to use 3D programs. Yeah, I've been doing this since before 2003. Just got my printer a week ago. Super intimidated with, hold on a second, with printing your work. My work may be a while before I get to print them. Okay. Get the hand of it and print traditional terrain first for players. You know, I don't disagree with your statement, but I will say this: you don't have to do that. In my catalog and Worlds Overrun 1 catalog, there is the original Thorin Spire, and that is a really easy piece to print. It's usually just labeled the Thorn. Okay, so there's that piece, and that's something that I strongly recommend taking a look at. Also, um, all of the tiles are open lock tiles. So those are really easy to work with, and you should have no trouble printing those too. I can understand where you might say, oh, you just finished a second Mega Maw? Holy crap. I would say that most of the content is relatively end stuff. Most of the content is relatively straightforward. There really isn't anything that is what I would call difficult to work with. There are a few pieces that you might want to have supports on, like the Thorn Hive. The Thorn Hive that needs supports, and the Thorn Prime. You really should have supports for both of those. But everything else should print fine um, without um, without doing anything special. You know what I mean? So it's kind of up to you how you want to go about doing it, but you should be able to get in there, dude, and have no issues. Yeah, it's you know just pick stuff that's going to print flat or low to the ground. Um, if you look at the thorn, when the thorn is printed, it looks complex, but the truth is that it's a very low. It's split in half. It's split in left-right pieces, so it's a very low to the ground part. It uses very little material, so you know if you want to use limited material to test print with, I think it actually uses almost the same amount of material for a 50 millimeter tile, maybe a little bit more, but it shouldn't be terrible. Um, and you should be able to just get in there and have fun with it. I don't know too many people that had any trouble with the files. In fact, if anybody did have trouble with the tiles, they didn't tell me about it. The one thing that people did have a problem with was is that one person really didn't like um, the fact that the bridge was designed to have a loose fit, and so that's why I put out a new a new yoke, and the yoke is designed to hold the tile in place. All right, so I'm going to go in a slightly different direction because I want to be able to pocket characters in here. So I'm going to put a muscle tissue over here, and then I'm going to do some other stuff. But I'm going to do some duplicating first, so we can move through this part. And I'm also going to save now that I've brought this back up to about where I was before. I usually save in succession like this when I'm working because I can't stand losing data. I don't really have corruption anymore, but you got to double check stuff. Yeah, so Fred doesn't even use Kick's support for the Hive, which that's amazing because when we talked about making the Hive, it was pretty clear to Greg and I that it should get some supports. But if you're not using it and you're getting good results, then bonus. We used it actually quite a bit. So, all right. So what I've done is I'm just duplicating the shell because what I want to do is I want to have this sort of not a fan-like appearance, but I want to have this sort of layered appearance. And I'll cut into this and I'll move this around. But I want to make it. I want to do it twice. So that I can really get a nice layered feeling. This part's going to be a little bit thicker than some, but it's supposed to be like a little shield ball. Yeah. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to separate these three guys, and that way I can cut into them and make different decisions about the parts. In the middle. On the outside. All right, so there we go. So this guy here, I'm gonna really cut into this guy right now, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm actually gonna do some sculpting here, just so we can have some form starting to develop. I really want this to feel when I'm looking at it. I want people to be like, I don't want to go over there. Don't make me deal with that thing. I want it to feel like a bad episode of Rick and Morty. So I'm just going to cut some chunks out of this, and then I'm going to go ahead and put some pits in it. I don't want to do a fucking excuse me for swearing, but I don't want to do a sawtooth look, but I definitely want to get some notches. I want to get at least one notch in here. So not really doing what I want, so I'll sculpt it next. You'll post pics on Instagram. Okay. Hey, there's a fan page too. I made a Facebook fan page, but Instagram works. I'm happy with. I'm really happy with anybody that wants to share what they're doing because it makes my work. It makes my work better. It makes me happier to just see that people are. It's nice to know that people are out there using the content I created, and it didn't just end up in somebody's round file. So, yeah. So you see how we've got that cut up. I'm going to do the same thing here, and then I'm going to detail one of these. I'm going to detail the first one I cut up, and the parts sticking through the floor, they'll get cleaned up at the end. I'm not sure we'll get to the end tonight, but I'm going to make this part. And I was hoping that I would get a lot more people because I was going to make an announcement and say that if I can get this part made quick enough, I might get it out to you guys before the Kickstarter. Before I get the funding from the Kickstarter, because it's just going to be a small piece, and I wanted people to be excited to work with me and to enjoy my models and enjoy the terrain stuff. But it seems like it's just the four of us tonight. So there are no bad episodes of Rick and Morty. Well, I was thinking more of a bad in the sense of where all the stuff goes to hell in a handbasket. So not bad in the sense of not enjoyable. All right, so I'm going to tilt this a little bit more because I kind of like the idea of this like opening up a little bit, I really kind of wish I had some more room. I don't want to cut off too much. Really kind of like this layered effect though. I like this like deep undercut. It's going to be a bitch to paint, but it'll look cool. And you can always paint it dark, and then dry brush around it. So you'll be back in the next one. Well, the next one, just don't let people know about this. This is only for people that are coming to my video right now. The next one, we're going to work on strata, and it's going to be, for lack of a better term, it's going to be a cloud city. And it could be a cloud city for the elves. It could be a cloud city for angels. It could be a Tau city. In fact, I'm not gonna lie, part of it was really inspired by the Tau because they don't have a home world, supposedly. So I kind of like the idea of making their home world, because I love the idea of telling my own story. You know what I mean? So yeah. So don't talk about it. Remember, Fight Club. That's the first rule. But yeah, if you know what, I'm gonna take a quick second. I'm gonna save this, and I'm gonna show you guys one file. One file. It's not finished, but I'm gonna show you one file. And I've already talked to Greg about it. We actually really think that this is gonna work well for us. I'm gonna show you one file from Strata. And this is, I'm asking you not to talk about this because I don't want anybody undercutting me. Okay, but there's a lot of files that we're making for Strata. So I hope you guys understand this is important not to talk about it. So in Strata, that's not the file I want. That's not the part I want. So I'm going to hide that part. Strata, you got shit like this. And this is a piece of terrain that's going to go with the larger world. And Greg is going to be test printing this as soon as the week after next. So I've got tricks up my sleeve so that you guys can print this in a couple of parts. And it will be really cool. And there's going to be really cool shapes in here. In fact, that one piece, that other piece that I had open, this is another set of shapes that I'm playing with, and we're trying to figure out, how far can we push the FDM printers. So imagine that this is a piece of, let's just say it's a piece of a wall, which it may not be a piece of a wall, but let's just pretend that it is. This could be something that people have to shoot around or move around. And really, I'm just trying to push the shapes that people are making in these sci-fi and fantasy worlds, so that they can tell me their own story. Because like, if you told me tomorrow, you're like, Eric, I want it to be gold, bam, I could see somebody chroming that up with some gold. Or if you told me it's got to be obsidian, so it looked like this, I'd be all about it. Like, you're like, it may be a sky city, but everything's got to be made of obsidian, or deep metal colors, but the idea is, for me, is that, I want you guys to tell me your own story with the worlds that I'm creating for you guys. Nice, man. Nice. All right, so let me clear this. So yeah, let me go back to this real quick. So this is one of the pieces. There's going to be several pieces like this. This is one of the pieces that's going to be in the new world of Strata. And it's going to have a lot. There's going to be a lot. We've got a whole spreadsheet of content coming for that. So yeah, I want to make sexy stuff, because I'm not going to bash anybody, but I see a lot of the same things over and over and over again. And I'm just sort of like, where's the space cities? Where's the deep hell moats? Why is everything made out of blocks? Why do we have to play this way? Why can't we tell bigger stories? And why can't we do more badass things? So it's kind of like who I am. I like to push the envelope. So we're gonna make this like a muscle. I'm going to draw this out. I'm actually going to run this tool here. Boom, this. So, all right. So I haven't gotten any detailing. You're probably be like, okay, he's just moving around these shapes. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna polish up these sections, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start making this look like the distressed armor of Thorn Prime. So we're gonna start with some holes. I like holes. I like bullet holes. I like acid etch. So we're gonna start there. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna just gonna make some holes. Now I gotta turn up my resolution here. Let's try 32 and see if that's enough. Is that enough? That's kind of enough. Let's take it up to 64. So computer software loves Power of 2. Makes life easier if you know how Power of 2 works. So I'm just going to kind of make a hole here. So there's a nice hole. These holes, since this part is bigger, these holes are actually going to be bigger too. Very bigger than the ones on the Prime. Or they're going to be about the same size as the ones on the Prime, I should say. So what I'll do is I'll make all these great places for you to do like burn marks or acid or you know, whatever has damaged this thing. Like this could be like, you know, cancerous, you know, riddled pock marks too. You know, it doesn't have to be like, I'm not telling you. You tell me what you want the story to be for these things. I'm just, you know, I've got my idea about it, but it's not the point of. And I'm not Bob Ross, dude. I am not doing Happy Little Trees. I like Dark Worlds. I like Brahm and Frazetta and, you know, the big names of sci-fi and you know, grew up with like serious hardcore fantasy. So you can kind of see right there, and we're gonna do some stuff like that. Thanks, Fred, man. I appreciate it. Uh, nice, nice. Yeah, I want to see that. I really do. I don't even know what the Nemesis board game is, but you have to take photos and share them with me, man. I was a little worried about doing this. Because you know I got a couple emails that people weren't happy with me, and I was really worried that I was going to get. Forgive me for saying this, but I was going to get some trolls or some neckbeards in here, and I just want to make good stuff that enriches the game, and um, I've been having a few hard days. You know what I mean? The Kickstarter's going great, um, and I'm not trying to share my personal business, but you know, I really just wanted to make cool stuff for people that wanted to do 3D printing. So I'm glad that I'm doing this and that you guys are having a good time. So. Right on. Think aliens, right? I can get behind that. All right, so I'm really happy with this. I don't want to make this look too much like Swiss cheese, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some scratches on this. So we're going to try this brush here. I actually know the brushes pretty well, but I want the parts to read really well. And with 3D printing, with the 3D printing I do with Collapse Industries, um, uh, you got to remember you're going to lose about 30% of the detail. So 30% of the information is going to go away. So I have to make marks extra deep for FDM because I think FDM loses almost 35 to 40%. And I really don't have any way of like compensating for that other than making my marks deeper. So what I want to do is I want to do 3 hashes here, so it's like a claw mark. That's what it is, but let's just pretend like Wolverine came up there. And then I want to do a couple of kind of like hash marks, you know, sort of like something scuffed. scuffed the surface of the armor. So now you guys can see that. So if I do a quick render, if I turn perspective on, because I've been working with perspective off, that's kind of when I'm blocking stuff out, I want my perspective off so I can get an idea about the measurements and scope of the scale piece. Well, there you go. So now from afar, is it what is it? How is it going to take damage? Can I stick arrows in it? Can I flock it with sand? Do I put grass on it? Is it still there? So the another thing I'm noticing is that, like, you see my ground plane, it's really sharp and crisp. Really don't like that. So I've got this tool here. I'm gonna go ahead and put in some rocks, just to start with. I'll do some sculpting on these, or I'll do some editing to these. But basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it so that it looks like there's like kind of a pile of debris in front of this thing. So it's either pushing up the earth or it's interacting with the ground. So we get sort of like a transition. So if I do another render, right? Like if you look at this thing for like right here, it just doesn't end. Any good designer will tell you that, you kind of want to work things in, and you see how there's like that transition there. So for me, that's really important, because I don't want it to just plop, sit on the table. Oh, it's just, oh, here's the table, and then here's the part. No one likes that, and visually speaking, a lot of people might think, oh, hey, I made my part, I don't have to like think about finishing it off. And it's kind of that to me that just speaks to me about not really understanding what it is to be a good designer. So I'll make some rough edges here, because you're not going to put pieces in here anyway. This is all aesthetic. If you put a piece up against this stuff, it'll be they'll get pretty close. They don't have to be touching it. It's not like they're going to be hugging the wall. Even if you wanted them to hug the wall, they're not going to be like doing one of those photo shoots where they're leaning up against the wall, because they're characters. So, and forgive me for rambling. I just I'm just throwing stuff into the void, hoping you guys will talk to me. So, yeah. But yeah, I'll add a few pieces, right? So basically what I want to do is I want to make enough of a ground plane so that this stuff, it works together. I don't have any floaty parts. Floaty parts are bad. Basically what I mean is that all of these parts are connected by something, so that it goes from the printer to something. There's one footprint. I can have a piece that sticks off, but I'm gonna fill in enough of this material so I don't have issues with the print. A lot of the stuff that Kirk and I do, Kirk Kirkland is the owner of Collapse Industries, who I work with. Nine times out of 10, I'm working with him. Greg and I do some stuff. He does my test printing for Worlds Overrun. But Kirk and I are always teaching and talking and working on assets, and we have a bunch of rules. And the shop, Kirk's shop, similarly to Greg's, we have got many printers. We do a lot of different assets. Mostly, it's almost all stereolithography. We don't do any. A little bit of FDM at the shop. I think we've got one FDM printer. Like I said, we're doing high-end parts, or we're doing stuff for aerospace. We actually printed for different aerospace companies every once in a while. So I have different rules for FDM that I have for Collapse, because the printers are different. They use different styles of doing the job. So, okay, so I've got my ground plane starting to come together. Yeah, and that's kind of the idea, and stuff, is that we are punching the earth out of the way, because like I said, this thing is kind of growing. Basically what's going to end up happening is that the idea is to tell a story. How do I tell that story with objects? So for me, I want you guys to be able to be like, hey, I want to give you enough of the story that you don't have to guess at what you're looking at, but I want to leave it open-ended enough that you can tell your own story with the part. You know what I mean? So we're gonna go to this one here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna scratch up this one a little bit. And I've got this beautiful little open scallop in here. I think this is really great. I'm actually gonna turn my perspective up just a tiny bit. I don't know why I said bitch. I'll turn it up a tiny bit. This is a small part, so I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna start putting in that same set of damage. I'm gonna go ahead and take this up to 64. Rebuild it. Right on. We're actually our newest printer is the Milkshake 3D. And Kirk went to Hong Kong to visit the manufacturers, and now we're going to be the distributor for them here in the United States. It looks like. I'm really excited about that because they are really great guys. And oddly enough, I think they're going to buy. Flo, our German engineer, said that they're going to buy one of my licenses. I was like, dude, they're going to buy a reseller's license? That's freaking amazing. So I didn't expect that at all. I'm just going to do a couple. I'm only going to do a couple pock marks here because I don't want to do too many. Um, I don't want to. I don't want this thing to be overly noisy. A couple, but like one or two out here, and then one right there. So that looks nice. That's going to be cool. That'll take paint nicely, and we'll do a couple little scratches. And let's come in here. It'll be pretty aggressive right here, and then do another. So there's some more damage there. We'll do the same one on the last plate, and then that'll be finish up the last plate there. Titanium printer. You mean a titanium metal? Is that the name of the printer, or is that the material that they're using? Are they printing in titanium? I know you can print to some degree. You can print in metal, but it's very it's kind of difficult and pain in the butt. We actually did not metal printing, but we printed in wax. Collapse Industries, Kirk and I printed in wax, and then we did some jewelry. In fact, I have a piece of silver jewelry. I did. I designed a hammer, Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, actually, and we had that done in wax. And then that 3D wax was sent off and cast the way we had a jeweler that took care of us. And we did a couple of rings, we did a couple of earrings, and then we did a pendant, which is what I have. I own a copy of the pendant. No kidding. That's, Fred, that is probably the single craziest thing I've ever heard. See, Kirk just came back from Hong Kong. He did went over to Hong Kong to see the guys that created the Milkshake 3D printer, and we're working with them now. I gotta tell you, next time he goes to Hong Kong, if my Kickstarter does good enough next time, I'm going with him. I'm going with him. So, all right. So I'm going to put a couple more scratches in here, and then the armor's done. The armor plate's done, and then we got to do the meat and the muscle back here, and then I'm going to call this piece done. I mean, I'll do some editing to make it a printable. I also want to get these feed tentacles, these feed roots filled out. It's a French company, and the owner loves new toys. Okay, cool. Dude, I gotta tell you, you gotta look up Collapse Industries. That's the company I work with. Dude, some of the stuff that we're gonna be doing, I wish I could show you. You know what? Do you guys mind if I pause for? Let me show you something. Let me show you. I want to show you one model. Uh, all right, so this is a model I'm working on for myself. I'm gonna turn it into a statue. I'm having a little bit of a brain fart. Oh, there it is. So this is going to be, I'm hoping that we can make this into a 14-inch statue. And this is just me mocking up this character here. And she's going to be clothed. She's going to have a robe on, but she's dragonborn. You know, she's a dragon human hybrid. But this is going to be a statue that I'm going to do in resin. And it's going to be, I'm hoping to have it at Monsterpalooza next year. But yeah. And she's lots of fun to work on. I haven't worked on her in a while because I've been working on other things, but so yeah. I would hope so. After for as long as I've been doing this, I would hope I've got some skills. So, and my music just ended, so I'm gonna take a second and load some new music. You guys have other questions? You guys want to know something about me and what I do? Now's the time to ask. Let me see here if I have my music. I have music playing on YouTube because that's where I like to listen to my crappy music. And you don't need to see that. Oh man, I wish I had something new to listen to. All right. All right. So thanks, man. You should, if you think that's amazing, you should see the three Japanese Oni that we're releasing for Monsterpalooza. That stuff is sick. We're releasing 3 busts. But yeah. All right. So where was I? Well, I did sketch it up. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, or that's not really like telling you anything. But the design. I've got a drawing next to me, and that drawing is telling me it's kind of like my floor plan, my concept, my proof, if you will. I don't even know what I mean. In art, we call it a lot of different things, but for me, designing stuff is all about solving a problem. I mean, my dad was an engineer for Sikorsky. I learned about designing and problem solving from him, and then I went to art school, and then I taught for a few years in college. After college, to me, it's all about solving a problem, making a thing that does the thing so that you can do other things. And it sounds absolutely asinine, but that's kind of how it is, you know. Um, Shading here. I wish I did create something from nothing, but to me, it's like I said, it's a job, it's work, it's fun. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into tissue. So I'm going to go in here, and this is where sculpting gets to be really fun. I'm going to punch some holes, and then I want them to be really amorphic. I'm not going to do the tendon thing I thought I was going to do. I liked it, but I think that having this fat muscle over here is going to be more fun. And the people that buy this or that print this part out for themselves are going to enjoy this this texture that I'm going to develop inside. They're going to enjoy that a lot more. So we're just going to thin this out a little bit. And then we're going to do a bunch of things to this, but I just want to sort of, I really want to maintain this fat section here so I can put muscle striations on here. So you can kind of see it as kind of like part of a living organism. I'm really thinking, like I said before, like sea animals and stuff. That stuff's interesting to me. I'm kind of thinking this guy's kind of like a mussel, like a sea mussel. If you've ever seen sea mussel, so we need to save this guy because we're working on him. 5. So I always save in succession. I can't stand losing work. Oops. Let me check my time. Oh wow, we've been working for an hour already. Oh, that was fast. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we'll put a little bit more time into this. Uh, oh, nice. Okay, thanks, and stuff. I can't. I'm having a real hard time reading your first name, so I hope and stuff gets the message across. I hope you know who I'm talking to. Oh, all right, so let's see here. Where was I? You've got to rebuild the surface. All right, so we're going to up-res this so I can do the part that I want to do. All right, so we're going to start with this tool. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to draw up this surface. This tool is so much fun to make, like this sinewy texture. I think I need to turn on I need to turn on my back face masking too. So I'm basically trying to make this like sinewy, not viney, but sort of, I guess sinew is the only thing I can really describe. The sinewy, tendony, sort of fleshy material. I've got a few brushes that do special surfaces like this. Some of them I've made, some of them I've picked up over the years. This one in particular I picked up not too long ago, and it's really meant for things like making skin folds, but it really works well for this type of work right here as well. And it creates these beautiful folds I just love. So I'm just sort of like working this in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to enhance some of the shapes, but I'm going to do like here, take a look at this. See, just like a piece of meat. I create these sort of like webbing patterns to this muscle here. And I got to smooth out this edge. I don't know why my brush, let me reset my brushes. My brushes are reset all. As the dice roll and stuff. Oh, okay. I have a little bit of dyslexia, so it's hard for me sometimes to really pick up on that. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going to create this sort of, like I said, I'm going to create this sort of pattern. You can see how this, if I zoom out a little bit, you can imagine that this is a really cool place for you to hide, like one of your characters can hide behind this organic structure, and people can be trying to shoot at him, or or cast spells on him or do a deep strike or something. And it's going to have this great little pattern as a backdrop for the character, and it's going to protect him. And if they come from one side, he's going to have, he's going to have partial cover. And if they come from the other side, he may be trapped a little bit, but maybe he could be drawing them into a kill zone or something like that. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to give this thing enough life that when you guys get your hands on it, start painting it, you're just going to be like, I see this and I see that, and how did this thing come to be? And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Let's write a cut in right here, because like I said, it's fat wrinkles. I need a little bit more resolution. I'm going to take this up to 600 or 62. Say no, 64. 64. Redo this section here. My smooth brush has decided that it doesn't want to be. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What did I do here? That should be 5. Sorry, I need to change a setting here. I'm getting a bit of an issue. Smooth brush modifier should be the same. Are you acting up? All right. Anyway, sometimes my software likes to have a mind of its own. You have a plan for this model already, huh? Xenomorph, when we use it, shelter, and if a player steps in range, they will collapse over them like a clam. Right on. I was hoping James would be with us tonight, but he's still still new to all of this stuff, and he had some family things going on tonight. And I was like, come on, man, come on, come help me. Let's get the backers involved, and hopefully get some, maybe pick up a few more backers in the process, so that we can do more Kickstarters and pay for electricity. It wasn't really available. So I'm going to kind of cut in here. I'm going to make this sort of like wrinkly skin pattern. Hopefully this holds up under 3D printing. It probably won't. I'll tell you right now, when I usually display this stuff to see if it prints, just so you guys know, I usually run MatCap White. And MatCap White shows me what the print's really going to look like. So sometimes I have to push things a little bit more. I'm fairly confident with what I'm getting, because this is in line with other pieces. There are a few things I'll continue working on, but there's some other technical stuff I need to do too before I finalize this part. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think that we're getting close to the end of our time together. If you guys, like I said before, if you have questions, now's the time to ask them, because I'm gonna start closing up shop soon. I mean, I'm gonna keep working. I'll work late into the night, but I don't want to run the hangout too long, because I'm already getting a little not winded, but my throat's a little sore. Since I don't have a moderator to talk to me and help eat up some of the dead space. A little beautiful little counter curve in there, get some webbing going on. Look at that. That's a sexy beast. Love this stuff, man. Strata has a lot less organic stuff. I mean, it has organic stuff, but it's a different thing. It's a different type of work. This is really, really all about the sculpting and getting in the right shapes. We'll have other organic or semi-organic worlds, or worlds that require a lot of sculpting. But this one in particular has been most fun for me because it's very rewarding. I can spend a lot of time doing this sort of like fiddly stuff. I can really develop like great textures. I love this kind of texture. What's really cool about this texture is that if it prints properly, and it should print well, but if it prints properly, man, oh, your dry brushing is gonna just, this thing's just gonna eat your paint right up. Um, Dry brushing on 3D printing, FDM 3D printing is not the best because it usually shows all the layers. But Kirk and I did a podcast about priming 3D prints that are FDM style prints. But a lot of, I don't know if you guys will have the same time investment that Kirk and I would take to finalize a piece, because he and I would take, it's on our podcast if you guys really are interested, and I can get that. You just look up Molds and Monsters, but we prime it with this adhesive primer, or we prime it with a something called Bulldog, and then we hit it with an automotive primer that auto levels the between the print layers, and we can actually get it really smooth looking without having to diminish the piece or um, uh, lose detail or resolution. It's a really nice way to sort of get a piece ready for paint, because the last thing I want to do on an FDM print, especially one that has a lot of great texture like this thing, last thing I want to do is sand it. You can sand parts of this, but you sand this inside, I don't know what's going to happen, and I hate to see you lose out on some of this great texture. And forgive me for being all like I'm not trying to be Bob Ross here, but I do like good texture on a piece, because like I said before, if I render this right now, I'm going to just throw the render up real quickly. You can kind of see where this is going. Let me check the questions while this is doing this thing. So the Xenomorph, thanks for sharing the process and your time. Home Depot drywall plaster fills FDM layer lines very nicely. I'm not a big fan of that. I really like the way that Kirk and I do it, because although it's got one extra step, it's all out of a spray can for me, which makes it very fast and it's very easy to put together, but it stinks like hell. So I usually have to do it in the garage. And I really like the results personally, but that's just me. Yeah, like I said, each person's going to do their own thing. I'm not going to. I like what I use because it's the way I want to do it, but I don't like sanding FDM prints. I think it's I'm not a fan. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but yeah. So here you go. So this is going to be the Thorn mini prime, and it's a little shield wall. I got to do some work on the tendrils, but I want to say to you guys that thank you for coming out. And yeah, thanks for your questions and everything, and hopefully I'll work on this tonight, and I'll have some more stuff for you guys. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up before I close out the hangout? Thanks. I don't know what size it's going to be. I can't scale it right this second. I'll check the size later. But I'll post a photograph of this, and if I can get the emails out of dude, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. But if I can get this piece done before the Kickstarter ends, you guys might have something to play with really, really soon. Give me a little bit of time to work on it, and if I can't do it, just know that it is going to go into the Kickstarter folder, or the Kickstarter asset folder. So you will get this piece with the Kickstarter. It's not going to be a small piece, because if this if this ground tile is roughly 6 inches by 6 inches, this will be a nice hefty piece, but it's going to be a medium-sized piece. Most of my pieces are medium to large, because I want to cover the table. You know what I mean? Fred, man, I appreciate you saying that. You know, I'm going to be making more stuff, guys, and more Kickstarters, and like any support I can get, because I want to enrich the gameplay. I want people to fall in love with, you know, really cool terrain and not just, you know, boxes. So, not that there's anything wrong with boxes. I remember some of my best some of my best memories were making forts out of boxes, but I like more complicated things now. So anyway, this was really fun to do with you guys, and I appreciate you guys coming out. And so I'm gonna call it a night, unless anybody wants to type something really fast. Give you a 10 count, just so. Oh, that's awesome, Fred. Yeah, man. Anytime if you guys have anything, if you guys have any other questions, you know, you can send me a private message on Kickstarter. You can get a hold of me on Facebook, because I do try to get the Facebook fan page going. Um, that's awesome, guys. Thank you all so much. I'm going to close this out, and it was a real pleasure to meet some of you guys and share the work with some of you guys. Again, if you want to get in touch with me, just send me a message. I'm pretty easy to talk to. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun. I hope your D20s, you know, don't betray you. And we'll see you guys later. All right. Cheers.